I'm Nikki and welcome to the Preppy Possum. Today I'm going to lead you step by step through a painting. All right, let's paint a lighthouse. So we're going to start by grabbing a humongous brush. So the biggest brush you have, so like an inch brush or something like that, and dry it off. And we're going to grab maybe like some light blues. So whatever like really light blue you have. And just skip up from the bottom of your canvas at least like 5 or 6 inches, and we're just going to throw a little line across. And then once you get that, just grab a bunch of light blue and we're going to fill in the whole top part. And don't worry about like which way your brush strokes go or anything like that, because we'll come back and throw some clouds and we'll kind of thicken up our sky around them. So just keep grabbing a bunch of paint and we're going to get the whole sky covered in a good first little layer. So now let's grab like a number 8 size brush and dry it off and grab like some dark blue. So really dark, like a navy. And we're just gonna skip down from our sky on that right hand side. So skip down from your little sky on the right, at least like 2 or 3 inches, and put you a little mark. And then we're gonna skip in from the left hand side of our sky, at least like, 7 or 8 inches, and add you a little mark. And then we'll just do a wavy line. So you just want it to be a little wavy and a little droopy, and connect those 2 marks. And then once you have the droopy wavy line, we'll just grab a bunch of that dark and we're gonna fill in all above it. And don't worry that it's a little streaky. A lot of times dark colors don't go on quite as heavy. We're gonna come back and add some more lights and darks to it to make it look more like water later. So just kind of grab a bunch of paint. And whenever you're filling this in, make sure you take it all the way to your sky. You don't wanna leave any white between your water and your sky. So we're gonna fill in all of our water. And once you have it all filled in, then just kind of wipe that one off. You don't have to rinse it out, just kind of wipe off all your excess paint. And we're gonna grab like some turquoise blue and some like pool blue, a lighter blue together. So you want some turquoise and pool blue together. And we're just gonna skip down a little bit from the top of our water over here on the left. So skip down just a smidge, and we're gonna throw like a little tide pool over to the left, which we'll come back and add some lights in that later. So just a little mark. So skip down from the top of your water, throw a little mark over to the left. And then we're gonna skip down from our water over here on the right-hand side, just like an inch, and throw you a little mark. And then we're just gonna kind of connect that little tide pool and our inch in our little mark on the right. So just kind of do a droopy little line. It just kind of follows the flow of your ocean. So you want a droopy little line that just kind of parallels the ocean above. And then once you have that, we're just gonna fill it all in with some of that turquoise and light blue. So just grab a bunch And then take it all the way to your dark blue. You don't want to leave any white in between. And then once you got that, let's go ahead and wipe that one off. And you don't have to rinse it out. I'll just kind of wipe it out pretty good. And let's grab some like caramel brown. It's kind of a caramel color brown, and you can even have some like milk chocolate color brown with it. So some caramel and milk chocolate brown, and grab a lot of that. And then we're gonna go ahead and throw us a layer in through our whole beach just to get a little layer of paint on there. And it's all right if you still have a little bit of blue in your brush, because that's gonna kind of give that iridescent sheen that we're gonna go for at the end anyway. So just grab a lot of paint. And we're gonna get our whole beach. So whenever you're filling this in, you know, don't worry about like which way your brush strokes go, because we're gonna come back and add some lights and darks. The main thing is I would kind of start at the bottom and work your way up. We're gonna take it all the way to our blue, but I would get like all the big white areas first. And don't worry if a little bit of blue gets into your beach when you're filling it in, because we're gonna come back and add some streaks anyway. But we're gonna fill in the whole thing. Make sure you take it like all the way to your sky and all the way to your water. All right. So just as long as you don't have, now we shouldn't have any more white on our canvas. So just kind of double check. And then once you have all that, go ahead and wipe it off. All right, so now let's throw some clouds in our sky. So let's grab like a number 8, it's a good size brush. So grab a number 8 and dry it off. And let's grab some really light blue with a little bit of white. So some light blue with some white. And we're gonna skip up to our sky and we're gonna throw a few clouds. You can throw more or less than me, but I'm just gonna start by throwing some big clouds in my sky, because I'm gonna come back and add lights and darks to my sky too. And I like to, when I do clouds, I like to have a few that are different sizes, just so they're not all the same. So it looks a little bit more natural, less intentional. So we'll do a few long clouds. And then once you get all your clouds, I'm probably just gonna do this many. Once you get all those on there, just grab a bunch of the light blue, and we're just gonna kind of fill them in with a layer of paint just to get some paint on there. And whenever you're filling in your clouds, kind of use a circular motion. That way it's not gonna look too choppy and too straight up and down. So you kind of just wanna twirl your brush with a circular motion. So have a bunch of paint on your brush, just be real light with it and kind of circle it. And I would just do a thin layer for now, because you can always come back and do a few more swirls just to add some lights or darks to it. So just keep grabbing some paint, and we're just gonna do a few. This big cloud that I have over here, I'm probably just gonna take a bunch of paint and fill it in, kind of, because that's where I'm gonna put my lighthouse. All right, so now we have us a quick little layer through all three of our clouds. So now we're gonna throw our lighthouse on here. Let's go ahead and switch out to a little bit smaller brush. So wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab, trying to find a number 4 or something would be good, but I don't know if I have one. There we go. So grab like a number 4 is a good size like drawing brush. And if you want to draw it on there prior to this, you can. I'm just going to draw it now. But grab a number 4 and dry it off. Let's throw on the base of our lighthouse first. So I'm going to grab some brick red. So like a burgundy cheer wine color red. And just skip in a little bit from the edge of your canvas. And we're just going to throw a line that goes straight up for just like 1.5 inches or so. And then we'll throw it over to the right for just a few inches. And then just kind of throw your little line back down. And this is going to be the base of Cape Hatteras. It's the most iconic of the North Carolina lighthouses. So once you have that, then just grab a bunch more of that cheerwine burgundy brick kind of color and grab a bunch of paint, and we're just going to fill in that whole base just to get a little layer on there. And then once you get that filled in, kind of wipe off your extra, and we'll rinse that one out in the water because we're going to use that same size brush again. So we're still using that size 4 and just kind of rinse it out and dry it off and grab some more. I would grab some bright white this time. And we're just going to hop right from our base, and I'm going to throw a line straight up. So from the center there. It's kind of hard to see through your cloud, but you'll. And then we're just going to throw it. I would just stop short of the top by at least 2 or 3 inches just to give you enough room to throw the little top part of the lighthouse on there. So throw the line straight up, and then once you have your line coming up from your base, then go ahead and throw a little bit of an arched line. So like it just kind of barely curves. And you want it to be a little bit smaller than the base because the lighthouse tapers in towards the top. So you want it to be a little bit smaller. And then once you have that, let me make sure I don't have any red in my brush. We're going to come down from both sides of our little whoop and take it to our base. And we can always straighten this up later, so don't worry if it gets a little cray-cray. We can come back and straighten it up at the very end. But that's a good start. So once you have both of those lines, then just grab a bunch of white, and we're just gonna fill that all in. All right, so we got a good start to that. So let's wipe off our extra. Rinse it out a little bit. Dry it off. And let's grab some black. So same size brush, a number 4, just rinse it out, dry it off, grab some black. Right off the top of our white, we're just gonna throw a line that comes straight up for just like 1/2 inch on both sides. And then once you have that, we're just gonna let it lean out. So on the left-hand side, you want it to lean towards that top left, a little diagonal for just like 1/2 inch. And do the same thing on the right hand side. So it's just like you're curving out from both sides. And then once you have it curved out, then we're just gonna throw a little line that leans, like barely leans up. So you just want it to kind of have that same, barely leans up just like the white did below. And then once you get that, we're gonna fill it all in with some black. And just take that black all the way to your white. We're not gonna do our stripes quite yet because we just did the white. We're gonna let it dry, but we're gonna go ahead and start filling in our little topper. And then once you have that filled in, just kind of wipe off your extra and chunk it in the water. And we're gonna grab a teeny tiny brush, so like a number 1, so the smallest brush that you have probably. And dry it off and grab some more black. And now we're gonna skip in from like that left-hand edge and that right-hand edge. So just skip in just a smidge and throw a line that goes straight up for a little bit over an inch is good. And then once you have your little line on both sides, so it's kind of looking like a little goalpost right now. Then we're gonna throw a little line that just barely leans up to connect it. So let it lean up just a little. And then you can kind of thicken that up through the top. So once you have that line that leans up, then we're just gonna make it a little bit thicker on the top. And then we're gonna skip into our little opening, just skip up like an inch from the bottom of your, a quarter of an inch from the bottom of your opening. So just barely skip up. And we're gonna throw a little line right across there and then just kind of fill in below it. And then once you have that, we're gonna do kind of the impression of the little part that spins around and lights up. So you wanna throw like, it kind of looks like a tiny little cross in there, like a little cross. But I would start with like, right off of that part we filled in, throw you like a little tiny, it looks like a candle flame. And then once you have your tiny little candle flame, then just throw you a little line that goes across it, left or right. Just barely hangs over the candle flame on both sides. And that has a good little start to the top part. And then once you have that, just wipe off your extra and chunk that one in the water. All right, so now we have our topper on our lighthouse. Now, let's add another layer through our beach. So I would grab like a number 8 size brush and dry it off. And let's grab some of that dark brown. So you want a really dark brown, like a mocha. You could even have a teeny tiny bit of black with it. And I would just skip down from your little tide pool, at least like an inch, inch and a half, and go ahead and throw you a bumpy little line that just kind of parallels it. And then once you have that line, we're gonna throw a little line that kind of barely leans to the bottom left. So it just barely leans down for like an inch and a half or so. And then we'll throw a little line that just kind of parallels the water's edge. I would throw it all the way to like your bottom right-hand corner. And then once you have that, grab a bunch of that dark brown, just a tiny black, and we're gonna fill it in all the way to our blue water. So you grab a lot of that paint. And it's fine if like your lighter brown's still a little wet. That won't matter. But we're gonna fill all that in. And then let's skip over here to the left-hand side. So that same dark brown, but skip over here to the left. And we're gonna throw a few streaks, just kind of right in from that left-hand edge. And then once you have your dark brown, so over here on the left, we've kind of streaked in a little bit. Then we filled this all into our blue. I would grab a little bit of the purple, like a light purple with it. And we're gonna add a little bit of purple over the brown while it's still wet, because that's gonna kind of give that sheen that the water, like when you're at the beach and the water goes over the sand, it kind of has that iridescent look. The purple is gonna help you kind of get that iridescent feel. So just throw you a little bit of purple right over the brown. And I would do that over here on the left too. I would kind of streak in a little bit of purple. All right, so that's a good start to our, like where our waves are gonna crash. And then I would just wipe off your extra and grab some more of that caramel brown and like a milk chocolate brown. So caramel and a milk chocolate. And now we're gonna fill in all the rest. So everywhere where you didn't put that dark brown just now, you're gonna come back with a caramel and milk chocolate and kind of just fill it in a little bit better, just so we don't have any canvas showing, so it's a little bit thicker. Even underneath your lighthouse, kind of everywhere where we had that beach before. And then over here at the left where we streaked, I would just kind of streak back into it just a little bit, just so it won't look too perfect. But that's a good start, because we can come back and see what it looks like. You just want it to be a little bit messy. It's like right here on the edge of your brown, if it's like a little perfect, you can mess it up just a little and have some streaks through your beach. All right, we got our beach looking pretty good. So let's wipe off that one and rinse it out in the water, or chunk it in the water. Let's work on our water just a little bit. So let's grab like a number 6 and dry it off. And let's grab some of that dark blue, like a navy, and some turquoise together. So some navy and some turquoise, and just load your brush with a lot of paint. And then all through your water, just kind of barely wiggle. You don't want it to look like a hurricane's coming. So just kind of barely wiggle it. Just doing little lines, you know, side to side. And don't worry if you like throw too much of that turquoise. All you have to do is come back with some dark blue and kind of wiggle that back in. And you can even grab just a little bit of pool blue with the turquoise. And when it comes to something like this, the more paint that you have on your canvas, the easier it is to kind of blend it and make it look less like you have perfect little lines. So just kind of keep doing your lines that barely wiggle, and that'll help you get like that good water kind of look. I might even throw like a few with a dark blue with just a little bit of black, like towards the top. Towards the bottom right here, just to add a little bit of depth. All right. Then once we have that, let's go ahead and wipe that one off just a little bit and grab some more of that dark brown with black. So dark brown and black. And let's throw a little sliver of that right above our little tide pool. All right, now let's get our lighthouse looking a little bit more like a lighthouse. So let's grab, like a number 4 is what I'm looking for. So like a number 4, and dry it off and grab some black. And let's skip down here all the way at the bottom, and we're just gonna throw a little diagonal right here at the bottom. And then once you get that on there, I go ahead and fill it in. Kind of all below there. All the way to your base. And then go ahead and skip down from the top of your lighthouse, just barely. So like probably an inch, almost an inch. And we're gonna throw like a little diagonal right here. Just gonna go right up above. And then you're gonna skip down just a smidge, like half an inch, and just kind of throw you a little line that just parallels that one. And don't worry if you mess up on any of these lines, because you can come back with some white and clean them up if you need to. And then let's go ahead and fill that one in, because I like to fill them in as I do them. It just helps you like visually to see where you need to put the next ones. So we'll get that one on there and fill it in. And then I'm gonna skip down. We kind of have to somewhat evenly space the next two. So skip down from that one we just did, and let's throw another little line. And then skip down just a little bit from that one and throw another little line that just kind of parallels that one. And then we'll go ahead and fill that whole stripe in. And then once you have that one, then let's skip like to the middle of that last little space you have. And we're gonna throw a stripe kind of right in between. But don't worry if any of them get like a little bit fat, or because you can come back with that white and we can trim it up just a little. And then we'll just fill in that stripe. All right, so now we have our little stripes on there. So let's grab a little bit of dark gray with the black. So dark gray and some black, and skip up to the very top. And we're just gonna throw a few of these streaks kind of right through the middle. That way it'll be kind of like a little glare hitting the center. It's gonna help it to look round, so it won't look quite as flat on your canvas. So dark gray, and we're just gonna kind of throw some of those streaks that just kind of barely curve right there through the middle of our little topper. And it's gonna dry a little bit darker than it goes on, so I would kind of just throw it on there and then let it dry for a bit, and then we can see if it's too light. And then once you have that, you know, keep grabbing the dark gray, and we're gonna throw a little bit of dark gray through each one of those stripes we just did, just kind of right through the middle. So that way you want the darker towards the edges. So make it, give that 3D look instead of the flat look. All right, so we've thrown a little bit of gray through there, so let's wipe that one off. Chunk that one in the water, and let's grab a teeny tiny brush again. So like a number 1, and dry it off, and let's grab some like sandy tan. So like a really light tan. And we're right across the top of our little base, we're gonna throw a little bit of this tan. And then once you have a little bit of tan at the top, we're gonna throw a few lines that come down from it, because the base is like sectioned off into like little rectangles kind of. So throw you a little line on the edge, and then skip in a little bit, and just keep doing your little increments. And it doesn't have to finish like exactly, you know, you don't have to have them perfectly spaced apart. So you don't have to have one on the edge over here. All right, so now we have our little sections on our base. We can come back and tweak it if we need to. All right, so let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab like a number 4 again and dry it off. And we're gonna grab some more of that sandy tan color. So that same light tan with like a number 4. And right here towards the top part of our beach, underneath our lighthouse, we're just gonna do some wiggly little lines. It's just, you know, the dunes, the bumpy little parts of the beach. And this is before they moved Cape Hatteras. So this is when it was like right on the water, before they moved it back a little bit. And then I would throw even like barely in the edge of the water, because you know always in the edge of the water you can still see the sand just a little. And if you happen to get too heavy with your tan, just grab a little bit more of that caramel and kind of wiggle it kind of into the edge of that. All right, then let's wipe that one off and rinse it out in the water, because we're gonna use that same size again. So we still wanna use like a number 4, just kind of rinse it out and dry it off, and grab some bright white, and kind of right here on the edge of where the water's crashing to the shore, we're gonna do like a bumpy little line. So load your brush with a lot of paint, and then just be real light with it. And we're gonna throw us a bumpy little line just right there where the brown and the turquoise touch. And then once you have that bumpy line, then I would grab a little bit of the like light blue. So it's okay to have a little white in your brush, but grab some light blue with it. And let's skip through our water. So kind of be random with this. If you're OCD, like close one eye or something, but skip around, and you want to throw just a few little light bumps. And I would even brush just a little bit of light up here through our little tide pool. And we can come back and add some dark too if we need to, but it's just easier the more paint you have on there to get it blended better. So we've thrown us a few bumps. You want some, you know, through the top, some through the middle, just kind of so it's sporadic. And then once we've bumped that, thrown some through the tide pool, then I would grab some more of that turquoise and pool blue. So what we originally had on here. And I'm just gonna bump some of that in through there too. So load your brush with a lot of paint, and then just kind of be light with it. And we're just gonna bump some of that like all through our water. So all through this little frothy part. And don't worry if you cover up too much of your white, because we can come back and bump some of that again. But I would kind of bump some of this all through that, just to get it kind of messy, and then same thing with your little tide pool. I would, you know, a little bit of that pool blue color, light blue, and kind of streak some of that in there. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more white, just in case we covered it. So kind of wipe off your extra and grab some white. And let's just bump just a little bit more of that towards the edge. Or we might have to come back when it's a little bit more dry and bump it in there. All right, well that's a good start to our water. So let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And now let's thicken up our sky. So let's start with like a number 8, it's a good size brush. And dry it off, and let's use some of that pool blue and light blue like we started with in our sky. I would grab some more of both of those, so kind of some lighter blues. And let's start by just kind of thickening up the middle of our sky. So all through the center. And don't chop off your clouds. So kind of all through the center part, we're just going to kind of thicken it up. And do that over here. You can do that over here to the left of the lighthouse too, just everywhere through the center of your sky. Then once we have that, let's grab, you don't have to wipe out your brush, just grab some turquoise blue. And let's thicken up the top part of our sky. So I'm just gonna grab some turquoise, kind of start at the very top. Just kind of left to right, you know, side to side. And I'm gonna thicken up the whole top part. So kind of start at the top. Be careful near your lighthouse. I might have to use a smaller brush to get right up next to it. Or you can use this one either way. All right. So you want to get up next to that lighthouse because you just want to make sure you don't leave like a light, you know, around it. And then we're just going to keep filling in the whole top part of our canvas all the way to where we filled in our light blue. So just keep filling in the whole top. And then you can kind of blend it a little bit where it touches the middle, just so it doesn't have a straight line. So how you blend it is have like a bunch of paint on the canvas and then just kind of streak. Kind of blend it in. The more paint you have, the easier it is to blend. And if it happens to get too dark, just grab some more of that pool blue and kind of streak back in with that. You just want to make sure you don't have like a perfect line right here. All right. So I think we got the top part kind of streaked into the middle. Now let's grab some purple and some of the like pool blue. You can still have some turquoise on your brush, but the purple with some like pool blue, so some light blue. And we're gonna throw this all through the bottom. So all through the bottom of our sky. So just keep grabbing like a really light lavender purple with like a really light blue. And you want to take it all the way up to your lighthouse, just so you don't leave, you know, any around it. And we're just gonna fill in the whole bottom of our sky. Just try not to chop off any of your clouds, just kind of fill the bottom in. All right, so now that we have all that kind of streaked into the bottom, now we're just gonna touch up the white stripes in our lighthouse a little bit, add some grass, touch up our clouds, and we'll be good. So Our sky's looking pretty good, so let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab like a number 4 again. All right, so now let's kind of touch up our white stripes. So let's grab a number 4 again and dry it off and grab some bright white. And we're just gonna kind of fill in the middle of all of our stripes again. So just grab a bunch of paint and we're just gonna kind of go through the middle. Of all these again. And then once you've kind of thickened up the middle, let's take some really light blue so you don't have to wipe out your brush. Just kind of grab some light blue with the white. And we're gonna kind of brush some of that in. Just from the left-hand edge and the right-hand edge. That way the middle part will be brighter to kind of give that 3D look. So you just kind of want to brush it in from the outside left-hand edge and the outside right-hand edge. Just kind of brush it in just a little bit. But you want to leave the middle white. It's going to help kind of give that 3D round look to our lighthouse. All right, now, because that's probably going to dry a little bit darker, so that'll be good. If you get too heavy with your blue, you can always streak back in with a little bit of white. All right. And let's leave the top part of our lighthouse a little bit lighter because that's, you know, covered in glass and lighten up anyway. So it's going to be a little bit lighter than the rest of our sky. And then once we have our stripes kind of thickened up, wipe that one off, chunk it in the water, and let's grab a teeny tiny brush. So like a number 1, and dry it off. So you want to load your brush with a lot of that dark green paint, and right down here at the base, we're just going to go down to up. So you always want to load it and go down to up. That way the thinnest part of your stroke will be towards the top. And you want to do this all, like I would start all the way from that left-hand edge, and we're going to take it all the way into the edge of the water. And you can have some that's higher than others, but we're going to throw it all on here with a dark green first, and then we can go back with a little bit of the lighter green. So just keep throwing the seagrass. We're going to take it all the way from the left to the water. And then once you have some of that all the way over there, then grab a little bit of a lighter green, like a slimy limey chartreusey green with some dark green. And let's throw a few of those lighter streaks of seagrass in there. So you want like a light chartreusey kind of green, and just kind of skip back through and throw you some of that color too. All right, so we got a good little start. So number 4, and dry it off. And let's grab like a little bit of the white and tan together just to kind of get a little bit lighter than it was. And I'm just gonna wiggle just a little bit of that right at the bottom, just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. And so just kind of wiggle that right at the edge. And then we'll wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab a number 1. So teeny tiny again. We're just kind of doing some last minute touch-ups. And wipe it off. So number 1, teeny tiny, wipe it off. And grab some more of that white and tan just to get you a lighter tan color. And let's go over the little lines in our base, just to kind of brighten them up. And so now I'm gonna grab like a number 6 and dry it off, and let's use some more of that like white and some of the lighter blues. And I'm just gonna do a few more little swirls. So just like we did before, just not quite as many, through all of our clouds. So you're just kind of using the white and the lighter blues. And we're just doing a few more, kind of with a circular motion, just to thicken up our clouds, add a little bit of depth. So you don't have to get the whole thing. Just to kind of, so they won't be quite as flat. And we're going to do the same thing to this big cloud, so just kind of add you a few little whoops. All right, I think that's got our clouds looking pretty good. So let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And we're just gonna grab our teeny tiny brush again, so like a number 1, and I would sound like your name or initials somewhere. And now we have the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to check us out. We're on Cox Street in Asheboro. And be sure to check out our website, www.thepreppypossum.com.